Just as the plane was about to land, we completely lost contact with the control tower. The runway was swarming with crazed, flesh-eating monsters tearing into each other, and we had less than half an hour of fuel left. Some people were frantically trying to open the cabin doors to escape, while others fiercely opposed it. The chaos was about to spiral out of control, and as the captain, I had to lead all 47 passengers to find a way to survive in a completely fallen city. But what was waiting for us outside the plane wasn't rescue at all. It was a choice far more terrifying than death. I will never forget that afternoon. The voice from the Heyman control tower suddenly vanished at exactly 3:17. My co-pilot's face turned pale. He repeated the call 3 times. The only response we got was dead static. Looking through the cockpit windshield, I saw something moving on the runway. It wasn't the follow-me car. It was a mob of shadowy figures, violently tearing into something. The altimeter read 800 feet. The numbers on the fuel gauge made my heart sink. Remaining fuel, 2.3 tons. When the first scream echoed from the cabin behind me, I knew that the passengers had seen it too. Heyman Tower, this is flight HC-327. Requesting clearance to land. Xiao Zhou's voice was trembling. This was his 4th call. Nothing but static. My name is Chen Yuanshan, 35 years old. I've been flying this route from Yunchuan to Heyman for 7 years. In those 7 years, I had never experienced a total loss of contact with the tower. Switching to frequency 121.5, I grabbed the communicator. If anyone was still alive down there, they would definitely hear this. To all stations, this is flight HC-327. 15 nautical miles from Heyman Airport, descending through 5,000 feet. I repeat, requesting any station to respond. But there was still only dead silence. Sweat started rolling down Xiao Zhou's forehead. Approach frequency, ground control frequency. I've tried them all. I glanced at the instruments. Everything was perfectly normal, except for the radio. No, wait, that's not right. Something else was very wrong. Look down there. Xiao Zhou pointed to the right. Through the thin clouds, the outline of Heyman City gradually came into focus. At 3:30 in the afternoon, this city of 2 million people had almost no cars moving on its streets. Altitude, 3,000 feet. The runway was clearly visible. Runway 25, a runway I could land on with my eyes closed. But the follow-me car was in the wrong spot. It was parked right in the middle of the taxiway, completely skewed. What the hell is that? Xiao Zhou's voice cracked. There were people on the runway. No, they weren't normal people. Their movements were wrong. Their postures were unnatural. They were tearing into something. Altitude, 1,500 feet. A commotion erupted in the passenger cabin. The passengers by the windows had seen it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I pressed the PA button, trying my hardest to keep my voice steady. Due to a temporary ground communication failure, we will be landing according to standard procedures. Please fasten your seatbelts and stow your tray tables. Xiao Zhou stared at me. Are we really going to land? We don't have enough fuel to reach the alternate airport. I pointed at the fuel gauge. 2.3 tons. That gives us 40 minutes in the air, max. The nearest alternate airport is Qingshan, and that's a 35-minute flight one way. If Qingshan is also, I couldn't even bear to think about it. Landing gear down. Landing gear down. 3 green lights. Xiao Zhou's hands were shaking uncontrollably. Altitude, 500 feet. I finally saw it clearly. Those weren't ground crew personnel. Their clothes were shredded, their movements grotesque, pouncing on the ground like wild beasts. Should we abort the landing? Xiao Zhou was practically begging. Abort and go where? Altitude 200 feet. I had to stay focused. No matter what was happening on the ground, the plane had to land safely. 47 passengers, 4 crew members. They trusted me to bring them home. 50, 40, 30, 20. The automated voice called out our altitude. The shutter of the main wheels touching down ripped through the cabin, feeling both familiar and incredibly wrong. Thrust reversers deployed, hitting the brakes. The speed was dropping. 100 knots, 80 knots, 60 knots. The scenes flashing by the window made my stomach churn. Down on the tarmac, human bodies were scattered everywhere. Dark red handprints were smeared across the glass of the boarding bridge. And then there were those things moving around. They were sprinting right toward us. Turning left onto taxiway E3. My professional instinct kept my hands on the controls. There were obstacles on the taxiway. An overturned shuttle bus, with luggage scattered all over. I steered around it and kept taxiing. We're parking at a remote stand. I made the call. We couldn't use the bridge, it was way too dangerous. Stand 16, as far away from the terminal as possible. The moment I killed the engines, the world went terrifyingly quiet. No ground crew, no marshaller, just the faint, guttural roars echoing in the distance. I took a deep breath and keyed the PA system. Attention passengers, this is your captain, Chen Yuanshan. Due to a special situation on the ground, please remain in your seats for the time being. Under no circumstances should you leave the aircraft. The cabin crew will brief you shortly. I dropped the mic and locked eyes with Xiao Zhou. His face was dead pale. What the hell are those? I don't know, but honestly, we both knew. The exact nightmare we'd seen in 100 movies was playing out right outside our window. Our chief flight attendant, Xiao Chen, knocked and rushed in. Captain, the passengers are panicking. She was young, only 28, but usually the most grounded person in our crew. Right now, even her voice was trembling. Keep them calm, I told her. Tell everyone the plane is completely safe. Should I tell them the truth? Just say we're waiting for ground clearance. She nodded and turned to leave. Xiao Zhou flicked on the emergency frequency, desperately trying to catch any signal. I just kept staring out the window. Those things were getting closer by the second. They were swarming around a Boeing 737 parked next to us. Its cabin door was wide open, with blood smeared all over the stairs. Captain Chen, Lao Zhang, our air marshal, shoved the door open. He was a tough, 50-year-old veteran from the Northeast. Things are going south. How bad is it? Some passengers in the back are trying to force the doors open. Are they insane? They're saying that staying on this plane is a death sentence. Lao Zhang lowered his voice. The ringleader is the guy in 15A, Mr. Li. A businessman. He's got about 6 or 7 guys backing him up. I got up from my seat. I'll handle this. I stepped out of the cockpit. The tension in the cabin was so thick you could choke on it. 47 pairs of eyes locked onto me, filled with terror, confusion, and absolute rage. A volatile mix of emotions. Listen up, everyone. Cut the corporate bullshit. The man in 15 shot to his feet, dressed in a sharp suit. Looking aggressive as hell. What the hell is going on out there? Mr. Li, please, I need you to calm down. Calm down? He pointed violently at the window. Look out there and tell me what the hell those things are. Everyone turned to the windows. One of the infected was crawling over the wing of the 737. Tearing into something with its teeth. It was too far to see exactly what, but that movement. That unnatural posture, it wasn't human. A woman in the back row burst into terrified sobs. We need to get out of here. Li Day's voice grew louder. Fly the plane, take off right now. I had to tell them the truth. We don't have enough fuel. The entire cabin fell dead silent. What do you mean? A middle-aged man with glasses asked. We only have 2.3 tons of fuel left, which is only enough for 40 minutes of flight, I explained, trying to stay as calm as possible. The nearest airport is 35 minutes away, and we have no idea what the situation is like over there. Then what are we supposed to do? Get more fuel. I pointed out the window to a spot 200 meters away. There's a fuel truck at parking bay number 4. Then go get it. There are over 20. I paused. Infected out there. As soon as the word left my mouth, the atmosphere grew even heavier. HMPH, so we're just trapped here then? Li Dai sneered, just waiting to die? I'm telling you, we'll figure something out, I said. The cabin doors are closed, so they can't get in. They? A young girl's voice trembled. Are you saying, zombies? No one answered, but everyone already knew the answer. Xiao Chen walked over. Captain, we're picking up a signal. I quickly headed back into the cockpit. Xiao Zhou pointed at the screen. The ACARS system. We just received an encrypted message. It was the aircraft communications addressing and reporting system, used for data communication with the ground. The message was brief. Safe zone established at Qingyu Island. Coordinates: east longitude 121.5, north latitude 29.3. Distance: 120 nautical miles. Maintain radio silence and await rescue. 120 nautical miles would require at least 3.5 tons of fuel. We only had 2.3 tons. Can you get in touch with them? I already tried, but there's no response, Xiao Zhou said. It might be an automated broadcast. Outside the window, the sun was setting, dyeing the tarmac a bloody red. The shadows of the infected stretched out long, looking like demons crawling straight out of hell. Tonight was going to be a very long night. Xiao Zhou, run the numbers on our exact fuel consumption, I said, see if there's any way we can optimize the flight path. He nodded and started marking up the navigation chart. Meanwhile, I stared at that fuel truck. A distance of 200 meters. Normally, it wouldn't even take 3 minutes to walk there. But right now, it felt like an impassable canyon. The sound of arguing broke out in the cabin again. I want to get off this plane. Are you out of your mind? Staying in here is just waiting to die. I knew the real test was only just beginning. When fear starts to spread, what kind of choices will people make? When survival becomes the only goal, what is left that can't be sacrificed? I looked at the photo of my family in the cockpit. The smiling faces of my wife and daughter suddenly felt so far away. How were they doing right now? Had Yunshuan also been? I couldn't think about that. I had to survive. I had to keep these people alive, even if there was only a sliver of hope. The temperature in the cabin was rising. After shutting down the engines, the air conditioning system stopped working. The body heat and breathing of over 40 people made the confined space heat up rapidly. After an hour passed, people were already starting to sweat. Can't we open the door to get some fresh air? The middle-aged woman in seat 28B fanned herself with her boarding pass. No, Xiao Chen replied with absolute certainty. Why not? We're going to roast to death in here. I stepped out of the cockpit. The sky outside was gradually getting dark. The silhouettes of the infected were roaming around the tarmac. Turn on the auxiliary power. I said to Xiao Zhou. The APU is going to burn through our fuel. Just run it for 10 minutes to ventilate the air. The auxiliary power unit started up, and the AC kicked back on. A collective sigh of relief echoed through the cabin, but I knew it wouldn't last long. Listen up, everyone, I announced, standing right in the middle of the aisle. I need to be straight with you about our situation. All eyes instantly locked onto me. First off, you've all seen what's happening outside. Those infected people, they are highly aggressive. This cabin door is the only thing keeping us safe. Infected? A boy who looked like a college student spoke up. Is it some kind of virus? I honestly don't know the exact cause, I admitted truthfully, but looking at how they act. If they attack you, you become one of them. Several people gasped in horror. Second, our fuel situation. I pointed out the window. We currently have 2.3 tons left, but we just got word that there's a safe zone on Qingyu Island. We need 3.5 tons of fuel to make it there. We're short 1.2 tons, someone quickly calculated out loud. Exactly, that means we have to refuel. And how exactly do we do that? Li Dai shot up from his seat. You just said there's over 20 of those things out there. The fuel truck is parked at Bay 4, 200 meters from here. Old Zhang rubbed his chin in thought. 200 meters. If we have covering fire, it's not totally impossible. Are you out of your mind? Li Dai glared at him. Stepping out there is basically suicide. Well, do you have a better idea? The two men locked eyes, sizing each other up. That's enough. I raised my voice. Now is not the time to be fighting each other. I need everyone to just stay calm and think. Think about what? A young woman in office clothes cried out, her voice trembling. No, we won't, I said, looking each and every one of them in the eye. I promise you, I will do everything in my power to get us all out of here alive. Bullshit, Li Dai scoffed coldly, HMPH. Right then, a guy in a black utility suit raised his hand. Can I ask a question? Go ahead, does that fuel truck need a key? Good question. I glanced over at Joe, but he just shook his head, unsure. The guy in the utility suit spoke up again. They call me Engineer Zhao. I used to work at the airport. For ground support vehicles, the keys are usually kept in one of two places. Either tucked up in the driver's sun visor, or inside the ground crew break room. Where's the break room? Right under gate 3. From here, he peeked out the window. It's about 150 meters away. That's even closer than the fuel truck. But here's the catch, Engineer Zhao rubbed his chin, even if we manage to get the keys. Operating that fuel truck takes professional know-how. You've got fuel port docking, pressure control, flow regulation. One wrong move, and the whole thing could blow up. Do you know how to do it? In theory, yes, but I've never actually done it in real life. Well, at least we have a plan now. There's still one more problem. Chen chimed in. Is the noise from the APU going to attract those things? Right on cue, a loud thud echoed from outside. One of the infected was violently slamming its fists against the side of the neighboring 737. Drawn in by the roar of the auxiliary power unit, Dozens more infected started swarming toward the noise. Shut it down, I barked the order immediately. Joe scrambled into the cockpit. A few seconds later, the APU died, and the cabin instantly plunged back into a suffocating heat. But it was too late. 7 or 8 infected had already surrounded the 737, thrashing against it like maniacs. One of them was scrambling up the boarding stairs, desperately trying to claw its way into the wide-open cabin door. They're highly sensitive to sound, old Zhang muttered, watching them closely. We can use that to our advantage, Engineer Zhao said. We can use noise to lure them away, and then make a run for the keys. Okay, but who's volunteering for a suicide mission? Damn, the one speaking was a young guy, sitting in 35A. He looked under 30, wearing sportswear, pretty ripped. Who are you? Shu Chang, fitness coach. He stood up. I run fast. Running fast is useless. Li Dai shot him down. One slip up, and it's over. It's still better than just waiting here to die. Who said anything about waiting to die? Li Dai raised his voice. Someone is gonna come save us. The police, the army, they will definitely come. Just look outside. Shu Chang pointed at the terminal. If there really was a rescue, why isn't there a single plane out there? He was right, the entire airport, except for us and that 737. There wasn't a single other plane in sight. It was way too weird. Hainan Airport gets an average of 300 flights a day. Maybe they were all cancelled, someone whispered. Or maybe the entire city is. Another person couldn't even finish the sentence. Panic was spreading. A woman started crying. Someone was frantically digging through their bag for pills. And people were desperately trying to make calls, but of course, there was zero signal. Quiet. I had to shout over them. It is 5 p.m. right now. I glanced at my watch. We need to make a decision before it gets dark. Do we figure out how to refuel and get out of here, or do we spend the night waiting for a rescue team that might never show up? Let's put it to a vote, Xiao Chen suggested. Agreed. I had Xiao Chen pass around some pens and paper. 10 minutes later, the results were in. 31 votes for figuring out a way to refuel. 16 votes for waiting for rescue. Majority rules, I said. Li Dai looked furious, but he kept his mouth shut. Alright then, who is willing to go out there with me? The moment I asked, Xiao Zhou was the first to jump up. I'll go with you. No way, you need to stay behind and guard the cockpit. Then I'll do it. Old Zhang stood up. Count me in, too. Engineer Zhao stood up as well. Shu Chang, Old Zhang, Engineer Zhao. Plus me, that makes 4 of us. Too many of us makes us an easy target, Old Zhang pointed out. I say we split into 2 groups. One group makes some noise as a distraction, while the other goes for the keys. Makes sense. Shu Chang and I will team up to draw them away, Old Zhang said. Captain, you and Engineer Zhao go grab those keys. Why do you guys get to make all the calls? Li Dai jumped up again. Why the hell should we trust you? Because we are the ones putting our lives on the line. I stared him down. If you don't trust us, then you can go out there yourself. He shut his mouth immediately. We're gonna need weapons. Old Zhang looked around the cabin. There were no real weapons on board, but we had tools. Xiao Chen brought over some metal brackets from the food cart. We can use these as clubs. There was a fire axe in the cockpit, so I went and grabbed it. How do we signal each other? Shu Chang asked. With flashlights. Xiao Zhou pulled out the emergency flashlights. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. The SOS signal. The sun was already dipping really low. The orange-red light bathed everything in a blood-like glow. Out there, the shadows of the infected were stretching longer and longer. Like the tentacles of a nightmare. We're going out through the cargo door. I decided, it'll make less noise. The front cargo door is under the belly, completely out of sight from the main cabin. Right before we left, Xiao Chen shoved a bottle of water into my hands. Please, come back alive. Her hands were trembling. I will. Truth is, I had zero idea if I would. But right now, I had to project absolute confidence. Otherwise, panic would just consume everyone. On the way down to the cargo hold, the passengers' stares pierced through us like needles. Full of hope, suspicion, and pure fear. A little girl tugged at her mom's hand. Is that Mr. going to fight the monsters? Her mom quickly covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. We reached cargo door 7. Old Zhang went down first, his movements tight and professional. Shu Chang was right behind him. Zhao, the engineer, was clearly terrified, his legs actually shaking. Stay right behind me, I whispered. I gave his shoulder a reassuring pat. The second we stepped out of the hatch, the stench of death hit us like a wall. A sickening mix of blood, rotting meat, and some other indescribable foulness. I fought back a violent urge to gag. It was way quieter out there than I expected. Most of the infected were swarming over by the main terminal. We were safe here, for now. Old Zhang signaled with his hands, "Stick to the plan." He and Xu Chang headed right, toward the 737. Zhao and I broke left, hugging the belly of the plane. The tarmac was covered in dark, heavy streaks. Blood. It was already dried up, this crusty, rust-like crimson. 50 meters, 100 meters. The ground crew lounge was dead ahead, the door hanging half open. It was going way too smoothly, which only made my stomach drop. Clanging metal echoed from old Zhang's side. They were starting the distraction. Sure enough, the wandering infected snapped toward the noise. They started staggering blindly toward the sound. This was our chance. Zhao and I sprinted for the lounge. The second I pushed that door open, I froze completely. There was someone inside. No, something that used to be human. A body was slumped over the desk, its ground crew uniform ripped to absolute shreds. The exposed flesh underneath was this sickly, horrifying grayish white. Zhao's voice was shaking badly. On the keyboard mounted to the wall, there were about a dozen sets of keys. Which ones belonged to the fuel truck? Zhao started scrambling to check them. This one. No, maybe this one. The body twitched. It wasn't a zombie. The poor guy was actually still breathing. Please, help me. A painfully weak voice rasped out. I flashed my light over him. Just a kid. His leg was mangled with brutal bite marks. The bleeding had stopped, but the wound was already badly infected and festering. Who are you? I asked. What? He burst into a violent coughing fit, hacking up dark blood. Where is it? I pressed. The control tower? That's at least 500 meters away, and we'd have to cross the main runway. Thanks, man, I told him softly. Zhao and I locked eyes. If we dragged him along, he'd be a dead weight. He could get us all killed. But leaving him behind, God, the guilt would eat us alive. I'm so sorry, Zhao whispered, snatching a set of keys. At least they belonged to some kind of vehicle. We turned to leave. Please, guys. Xiao Lu desperately struggled to drag himself up. At least put me out of my misery. He shakily pointed down at his ruined leg. The infection was rapidly spreading. He knew exactly what he was going to turn into. I squeezed the handle of my fire axe. But I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Let's go, I choked out. Zhao grabbed my arm and pulled me away. Behind us, Xiao Lu broke down into desperate, agonizing sobs. Back outside the lounge, old Zhang's crew was still making a racket. But things were going south fast. More and more infected were swarming in. There were already over a dozen of them. We had to pull back, now. I flashed the signal with my light. Old Zhang saw it, and he and Xu Chang started falling back. But one of the monsters was insanely fast. It basically launched itself right at Xu Chang. Old Zhang violently shoved Xu Chang out of the way, taking the brutal tackle himself. No, his blood-curdling scream ripped through the evening sky. The infected tore into him in a frenzy, blood and flesh flying everywhere. Xu Chang tried to save him, but more of those infected blocked his way. Run, I yelled, not caring if it gave away our position. The three of us ran like crazy. Behind us were the growls of the infected, and old Zhang's screams, growing weaker and weaker. We rushed up the air stairs. Zhao was the first into the cabin. Xu Chang was second, and I was last. The moment we closed the door, a pale, gray hand reached in. I chopped it off with my axe. The severed hand fell to the floor, still twitching. The cabin door was locked tight. We were safe, for now. The cabin was dead silent. Everyone was staring at us. Staring at the three of us. We were missing one. Where's old Zhang? Xiao Chen asked. I shook my head. Someone gasped, and another started to cry. I told you people would die, Li Dai said coldly. Xu Chang suddenly jumped up and grabbed him by the collar. Say that one more time, I dare you. That is enough. I pulled them apart. Did you get the keys? Xiao Zhou asked. No, they're in the control tower. Dead silence fell over us again. The control tower? 500 meters away, straight across the runway. Everyone just saw how old Zhang died. No one wanted to risk it again. Someone said in despair, "No." Zhao suddenly spoke up. "I remember now." Everyone looked at him. "The control tower has a backup generator. If we can restore the power, the refueling system can be operated remotely." A glimmer of hope, but we still have to go to the tower. Yes. Silence fell again. It was completely dark outside. The cabin was only lit by the dim glow of the emergency lights. Outside, those infected were still crowding around old Zhang's body. The sound of tearing flesh was crystal clear in the dead of night. "Let's rest for tonight. I made the call. We'll figure something out tomorrow." No one objected. Everyone was exhausted, physically, and even more so, mentally. Xiao Chen started handing out the leftover food and water. "Supplies on the plane are limited. Ration them. They'll last 2 days at most." 2 days. If we can't fuel up and leave within 2 days, we are all going to die here. I went back to the cockpit, staring out at the pitch-black runway. Somewhere out there, the silhouette of the control tower was faintly visible. 500 meters. We almost got killed during the day. How could we pull it off at night? But we had no choice. "We have to go, Captain." Xiao Zhou handed me a sandwich. "Eat something." I took it, but it tasted like ashes in my mouth. "What do you think is really going on out there?" he asked. "I don't know. Do you think the whole world is?" Don't overthink it, but I knew he was right. If it was just Heyman City, there's no way we wouldn't have rescue teams by now. It might be the whole country, or even the entire world. The whole world might be going through the same disaster. If so, is Qingyu Island really safe? Or is it just another trap? I couldn't think about it. Take it one step at a time. Let's just survive tonight first. Outside the window, one of the infected bumped into the landing gear. It sounded like the Grim Reaper knocking on our door. At 3 in the morning, I was jolted awake by the sound of arguing. At the back of the cabin, Li Dai and a few others huddled together. Their voices were low, but tense. "We can't wait any longer. They don't have a plan at all. Lao Zhang is already dead." I got up and walked over. "Is there a problem?" Li Dai turned around, his eyes bloodshot. "Captain Chen, we need to talk." "Talk about what?" "I'm listening." He took a deep breath. "We think we should leave the airport right now and find a car in the city." "Are you crazy?" Xu Chang had woken up too. "It's full of those things out there. It's not safe here either." Li Dai pointed out the window. "They'll find a way in sooner or later. The plane is sealed tight. What about food and water, then? We can last 2 days at most. That is definitely a problem. So, what is your plan?" "We split up." Li Dai looked at the people following him. "Whoever wants to come with me, we'll head to the city together. Whoever doesn't can stay on the plane and wait to die." "We are not waiting to die." I corrected him. Engineer Zhao said the control tower has a way to refuel the plane remotely. Someone still has to go on a suicide mission for that. Li Dai sneered. "You? Or are you going to make someone else do it?" I couldn't argue with that. It was true, going to the tower was a death sentence. "Listen up, everyone." Li Dai raised his voice, waking up even more people. "I say we split up right now. Whoever wants to leave, follow me. Whoever wants to stay, keep waiting." "What the hell are you trying to do in the middle of the night?" Xiao Chen stepped forward. "Survive," Li Dai answered bluntly. Gradually, everyone woke up. 2 choices were laid out in front of them. I think Li Dai has a point. A middle-aged man stood up. "Rather than being trapped here to die, we might as well take a gamble." "Gamble on what?" Xu Chang shot back. "Just look at what happened to Lao Zhang. That's because the plan was flawed." "Oh, and you have a better plan?" The argument grew more and more heated. "That is enough." I had to step in. It's the middle of the night, and it is pitch black out there. Those infected are even more dangerous in the dark. If we're going to leave, we wait until dawn. They'll be able to see us better in the daylight too. Li Dai retorted. "At least we'll be able to see them too." The 2 groups stood in a tense standoff. Just then, a timid voice spoke up. "Can we, maybe vote on it?" The speaker was a young girl who looked like she had just graduated. "Vote on what?" "Vote on whether to open the door," she said quietly. "If the majority agrees to let Mr. Li leave, we open the door. If the majority is against it, then that is illegal imprisonment." Li Dai cut her off. The atmosphere instantly turned hostile. "This isn't imprisonment," I said. "This is for everyone's safety." "Whose safety?" Li Dai stepped aggressively toward me. "Yours? Or the safety of these cowards?" Li Dai, Lao Zhang's friend, a big guy from the northeast, stepped up. Do not forget that Lao Zhang died trying to save people. That was his own stupidity. Those words infuriated a lot of people. What the hell did you just say? Shu Cheng clenched his fists. I'm telling the truth, Li Dai didn't back down at all. In this kind of situation, talking about sacrificing yourself to save others is just pure stupidity. You piece of shit, what's wrong with guys like me? At least I'm honest, not like some people, talking a big game when they're actually just scared to death. He looked straight at me. Mr. Lee, I tried to keep my cool, if you insist on leaving. I won't stop you once the sun comes up. But please, don't drag the others into this. Drag them into this? He scoffed. You're the ones getting in the way of our survival. Survival? Forgive my bluntness, Mr. Lee. Do you have any idea how many infected are out there? Do you know how they behave? Do you know what's going on in the city? And you do? I don't, but at least this plane gives us temporary protection. Temporary? Li Dai seized on the word. So you admit it's only temporary. Still better than blindly marching to our deaths. Who said anything about dying? Li Dai turned to the others. Listen up, everyone. I'm a businessman, and I don't make deals that lose me money. I've been watching them. Those things move in patterns. Avoiding them is totally possible. You watch them for a few hours and you're already jumping to conclusions? It's better than sitting around doing nothing. Another argument broke out. I noticed that 7 or 8 people were clearly siding with Li Dai. They were all young, able-bodied men, along with 2 women. Tell you what, I said. I suggest we all cool down first. Once the sun comes up, if Mr. Lee still insists on leaving, I'll open the cargo doors and let you go. But, I looked at everyone. Once you step out, you can't come back in. Why not? Someone asked. Because every time we open those doors, we take a risk. We can't just keep opening and closing them. Li Dai thought about it for a moment. Fine, but I have a condition. What condition? We split the supplies. We're taking a portion of the food and water with us. No way. Chen immediately objected. We barely have enough as it is. That's our share. If you leave, you don't get a share. Who made that rule? They were about to start yelling again. Wait, I threw my hands up to stop them. Mr. Lee, if you're really going out there, finding supplies in the city shouldn't be too hard. This little bit of stuff on the plane would barely make a dent for you anyway. He thought it over. Fair enough. However, he pointed out the window. I want you guys to make some noise and distract those things. What? It's simple. A smug grin spread across his face. You make a racket on this side of the plane to draw them in, and we'll slip out the other side. You want us to act as bait? Shu Cheng roared. It's a win-win. Li Dai shrugged. Weren't you guys heading to the control tower anyway? It's right on your way. What a typical businessman, always scheming no matter the situation. No deal, I said flatly. Then we're leaving right now. Li Dai threatened. Right now? That's right. He marched towards the rear cargo door. Chen stepped in his way. Shoving broke out. Li Dai's crew quickly closed in. Total chaos erupted in seconds. Stop it. My shouting did nothing. Over in row 28, Li Dai's guys were already tearing apart the seats, trying to smash the cabin door open. Are you guys out of your minds? The other passengers backed away in terror. A little kid started to cry. Something slammed into the fuselage. Everyone went dead silent. It was the infected outside, drawn by the noise inside. Looking through the window, there were at least 5 or 6 infected slamming against the hull. Look what you idiots did. Someone broke down sobbing. Li Dai's face went completely pale. But he put on a brave face. What are you so scared of? They can't get in. They can't get in? I pointed straight at the rear cabin door. You guys almost smashed it open just a second ago. And sure enough, the door's internal lock was already coming loose. That was an accident. An accident? I walked over to check. It was way worse than I thought. The latch was bent out of shape. Sure, it was still locked, but it wasn't going to hold up to much. Everybody, move to the front cabin. I ordered. Why the hell should we listen to you? Li Dai was still running his mouth. Because the rear door might not hold. That shut everyone up, and the blood drained from their faces. Just as I said it, the banging grew louder, followed by the faint sound of metal snapping. Move, now. No one hesitated this time. The whole crowd surged toward the front, shoving, trampling, screaming. Evacuate in an orderly fashion. Chen screamed at the top of his lungs. But it was no use. Blind panic had completely taken over. The crashing got even louder. I whipped my head around. and saw a crack opening in the rear door. A dead, pale hand reached inside. Ah! Screams pierced my eardrums. I grabbed the fire axe and charged straight at it. I swung the axe down hard. The hand was severed, and thick, black blood sprayed everywhere. But the gap was still there, and even more hands were trying to force their way in. "Joe," I roared, "close the rear isolation door." The 747 had a section isolation design. Joe reacted fast, slamming the emergency button. The fireproof isolation door slowly started to drop. "Come on, faster." The door was halfway down when an infected shoved its head through. A rotting face, hollow eye sockets, teeth bared in a snarl. I brought the axe down again. The skull split wide open, and brains splattered across the floor. A sickening stench hit me. Finally, the isolation door sealed completely. We were safe, for now. But the rear cabin was completely overrun. We just lost a third of our living space. And it's all your fault. Someone pointed a shaking finger at Lee Dai. "If you bastards hadn't insisted on forcing the door open. What do we do now? Are those things going to break through?" Panic, fury, and sheer despair gripped the cabin. Lee Dai was freaking out too, but he was still trying to weasel out of it. "This wasn't my, shut the hell up," I finally snapped. Everyone turned to look at me. "Lee Dai, you and your little gang are gonna sit down and stay quiet. Right, now, if you pull a stunt like this again, I will personally throw you outside to feed the zombies." He opened his mouth to argue, but he took one look at the blood still dripping from my fire axe, and swallowed his words. "Zhao, how long can that isolation door hold? The design standard is 4 hours against a fire. But against raw physical impacts, hard to say. Chen, recount the survivors and take an inventory of our supplies." "On it, Shu Cheng, round up a few of the strongest guys. I want you taking turns guarding that isolation door." "Got it, Joe, keep trying to contact the outside world." "Copy that." Everyone is doing their part, and order is slowly returning. But I know that the conflict just now has already torn this temporary group apart. The trust is gone. When survival becomes the only goal, humanity's dark side is laid bare. It is 5 a.m. The horizon is just starting to turn pale. The quarantine door is still taking a beating, but it's holding up for now. I'm standing in the cockpit, looking at the tower in the distance. I have to go, not for everyone, but at least for those who still believe in me. "Captain," Zhao walks over. "I thought of a way. Tell me, we can use the noise from the APU to draw the infected to the tail. Then we get out through the front cargo hold. The tail is already overrun. Perfect, they'll all gather around the quarantine door. And we'll leave from the front. Makes sense, but the risk, I know." "I'll go. You can't do it alone." Joe chimes in. "I'm going with you." "I'm going too." Shu steps forward. I look at them. These people are still willing to believe in me, to support me. "Thank you, but we can't take too many people. Just Joe and I will be enough." "Captain, that is an order. I rarely pull rank like this." "Shu, you're in charge of security here. Zhao, you guide us remotely." They still want to argue, but ultimately, they nod. The sun is up. It's a new day. I don't know if it'll be our last. The banging on the quarantine door is still going on. It's like a countdown, reminding us that we're running out of time. 6 a.m. It is fully daylight now, and we can clearly see the situation on the tarmac. It's worse than we thought. The commotion last night attracted even more of the infected. I count at least 30 of them. Most are gathered at the tail, frantically slamming into the already damaged rear cabin door. "Start the APU." I give the order. The roar of the auxiliary power unit fills the air. Just as we thought, the infected are drawn to it. More of them swarm toward the tail. The front is relatively clear now. It's time. Joe and I quickly check our gear. Fire axes, crowbars, flashlights, and ropes. Zhao hands me a hand-drawn map. It's the layout of the tower. The first floor is the lobby, the second floor is the control room, and the basement is the equipment room. The generator switch is in the basement. Understood. He lowers his voice. "If you run into any survivors." He doesn't finish, but I know what he means. Do we save them, or not? One more person means one more risk. We'll play it by ear. I tell him. Right before we leave, Chen shoves 2 bottles of water into my hands. "Come back alive." "We will." The front cargo door slowly opens. The morning breeze hits us, carrying the stench of rotting flesh. We move quickly, hugging the belly of the plane. The tower is to the northwest, about 500 meters away in a straight line. But we can't go straight, the runway is too exposed. There's nowhere to hide, we have to go around. We'll use the equipment vehicles and luggage carts on the tarmac for cover. 50 meters to go. Everything is going smoothly. 100 meters in, Joe suddenly grabs my arm. Up ahead, an infected is wandering around. It used to be a ground crew member. Its orange reflective vest is torn to shreds, revealing the rotting skin underneath. There is no way around it. We have to take it out. I grip my fire axe tightly and creep closer. Its back is to us, chewing on something. 3 meters away, 2 meters, 1 meter. I raise the axe, but right at that moment, it whips around. That decaying face is staring right at me. A chunk of unrecognizable meat still hanging from its mouth. No time to think, I swing the axe down, burying it right into its skull. It collapses, twitches a few times, and goes dead still. 200 meters in, we hit our second obstacle. 5 or 6 infected are clustered around a shuttle bus. We have to detour, but going around means adding an extra 100 meters to our route. 300 meters in, we are almost at the edge of the runway. We have to cross the runway to get to the control tower. It is 45 meters wide, with absolutely zero cover. If we get spotted, we are dead meat. Wait, Joe points to the right. There is a small plane parked in the maintenance area. A Gulfstream G650 private jet. Let's go around through there. Good idea. We quickly hustle over to the jet. The cabin door is wide open, and it sounds like something is moving inside. We cautiously approach. It's a human voice. Someone's alive. It is a weak groan. Joe and I lock eyes. Should we go in? It could be a trap, but it could also be a real survivor. I'll go in and check. I say, we go in together. We push the door open, and the sight inside makes me gasp. There is blood everywhere, smeared all over the seats, the carpet, the walls. Everything is covered in dried blood. The sound is coming from the cockpit. A pilot is slumped over in the captain's chair. His legs, they're gone. Everything below the knees is just gone. A tourniquet is tied tight around his thighs, but blood is still seeping through. I hand him my water bottle. He chugs it greedily, chokes, and starts coughing violently. Thank you. His voice sounds like a broken bellows. What the hell happened here? Yesterday morning. He gasps out between ragged breaths. The boss wanted to get out of here. What about the others? I ask. All dead, or turned into. He weakly points outside. And your legs? Sawed them off myself. I got bitten. He gives a miserable, hollow laugh. He is right. His skin is already taking on that sickly gray color. Please. He grabs my hand tightly. Just put me out of my misery. Not this again. I don't want to turn into one of those things. Tears spill from his cloudy, bloodshot eyes. I tighten my grip on the axe. Thank you. He slowly closes his eyes. I raise the axe high. My hands are shaking. This isn't murder. It's mercy. The axe comes down, quick and clean. His face finally looks peaceful. Let's go. Joe gently pats my shoulder. We step out of the private jet and keep moving forward. 400 meters down, we are about to cross the runway. We laid low at the edge of the runway, keeping watch. No infected in sight, left or right. Sprinting with everything we had. That 45-meter runway felt like 450. Heart pounding like a drum, breathing heavy. We finally made it to the other side. The control tower was right in front of us. An 8-story building, its glass walls reflecting the morning sun. The main doors were locked tight. Just as we expected. Let's try the side door. Mr. Zhao mentioned a staff entrance. Found it. The door was cracked open. The moment I pushed it, a horrible stench hit us. Bodies were scattered all over the lobby. Some in uniform, some in everyday clothes. Looks like they've been dead for a while. Be careful, Joe whispered, and he was right to warn me. These bodies could wake up at any second. We kept our backs glued to the wall. The stairs were deep inside the lobby. Passing the guard room, the scene inside was even more brutal. Looked like a massive fight broke out. Chairs and tables flipped over, computer screens totally smashed. Blood splattered all over the walls. Don't look. Joe pulled me away. We headed up to the second floor. The door to the control room was wide open. Inside, it was surprisingly clean. Except for a few knocked over chairs, everything was left just as if people were still working. The radar was still spinning, screens still glowing. But there wasn't a single signal from any planes. The backup power was still running. Joe started checking the equipment. Where are the keys? They should be. He dug around, found them, a whole ring of keys, tagged for the ground crew vehicles. Thank God. What about the generator? Down in the basement, we went back down to the first floor and found the stairs leading underground. It was pitch black. Our flashlight beams looked so weak in the dark. Every step felt like walking straight into an abyss. The basement was huge, filled with pipes and machines. The generator room was all the way at the back. The door was open. I had a really bad feeling about this. I flashed my light inside. One of the infected was crouching right in the corner. It was chewing on something. Hearing our footsteps, it slowly turned its head. It was an air traffic controller, name tag still hanging from its neck. It stood up, swaying back and forth. Then it suddenly lunged right at us. Joe reacted fast, shoving his crowbar straight into its chest. A dead hit, but it didn't even slow down. It kept coming. I brought my axe down hard on its head. There's the generator, a massive diesel unit. The control panel is right beside it. Do you still remember the startup sequence? I got it. Joe started working the controls. Checking the fuel, turning on the pump, warming it up. Boom, the generator roared to life. All the lights across the airport flickered on in an instant. We did it, but our celebration didn't even last 3 seconds. A massive racket echoed from upstairs. Footsteps, crashing, and wild roaring. The lights must have woken up all the infected. We need to move, now. We bolted out of the generator room. But 3 of them were already blocking the stairs. Our only way out was blocked. Over here, Joe spotted another exit, the emergency stairs. We shoved the door open. It was a ramp leading straight up to the surface. But the exit opened right out onto the main runway. Completely exposed. The roars behind us are getting closer and closer. Bursting above ground, the sunlight is blinding. On the runway, at least 20 infected are charging right at us. Run to the plane. A distance of 500 meters has never felt so far. Xiao Zhou is running point. Suddenly, he trips and falls. An infected lunges from the side, sinking its teeth into his arm. He screams in agony, smashing it wildly with his crowbar. I rush over and finish the freak off with 1 strike. Are you okay? Blood is seeping through his fingers. We all know what that means. But now is not the time to think about it. Keep running. Infected are getting closer. 100 meters, 50 meters. The plane is right in front of us. Open the door, I scream at the top of my lungs. The cargo door drops open. Xu Cheng and Engineer Zhao are inside, covering us. Xiao Zhou, get on first. I'll cover the rear. An infected lunges at me. I swing my axe in a wide arc. Another one comes. I kick it flying. I finally scramble up the ramp. The second the door slams shut, countless hands start slamming against it. We're safe. For now, at least. Xiao Zhou. Xiao Chen gasps, staring at his wound. I'm fine. He shakes his head, but his face is deathly pale. Everyone is just staring at his arm. We all know exactly what that means. Xiao Zhou tries to speak. Let's get that bandaged first. I cut him off. Xiao Chen hurries over with the medkit. Disinfect, stop the bleeding, wrap it up. But we all know we're just buying time. Are the generators up and running? Engineer Zhao asks. Excellent, I'll take over the remote refueling sequence. On the screen, the refueling system is online. The fuel truck is connecting at position 4. ESTTIME. The progress bar is crawling forward. Est time, 0.3. How long will it take? At least 30 minutes. Can Xiao Zhou hold out that long? I look over at him. He's slumped back in his seat, his forehead dripping with sweat. I just want to talk to my daughter. Hey, you're going to be fine. Stop lying to me, Captain. He lets out a bitter laugh. I'm a pilot. I know exactly what's happening to my body. He's right. His arm is already turning a sickly color. Ashy gray veins are spreading under his skin like a spiderweb. How much longer do I have? I ask the others. At this rate, about 2 hours. He stays completely calm. 2 hours, huh? Refueling takes 30 minutes. That's enough time. But what happens after that? Do we just leave him on the plane? Or do we, Captain? He looks me dead in the eye. When the time comes, kick me off this flight. Xiao Zhou, this is my choice. His voice is rock solid. I don't want to turn into one of those freaks. And I sure as hell don't want to hurt any of you. A dead silence falls over the cabin. Someone is quietly sobbing in the background. Even Li Dai doesn't say a single word. The refueling sequence has started. Engineer Zhao's voice suddenly shatters the silence. The fuel gauge is starting to go up. 2.4 tons. It's slow, but it's going up. Hope is growing, but Joe's time is running out. We're 15 minutes into refueling. Joe's condition is getting drastically worse. The pale gray color has spread all the way to his shoulders, and he's burning up with a fever. He's completely delirious. Chen is taking care of him, constantly wiping his sweat with a damp towel. Everyone else is backing away, keeping their distance. Fear is spreading through the cabin. What if he suddenly turns? Someone whispers in the back. It shouldn't happen that fast, right? Zhao says, but he doesn't sound so sure. Fuel gauge, 2.8 tons. We still need 0.7 tons. That's at least another 15 minutes. He can't hold on much longer. Chen cries out in a panic. Zhou is gasping for air, and his eyes are turning blood red. Everyone get back. The crowd scrambles away. Zhou struggles to his feet. I need to get out of here. Just hold on a little longer. I grab hold of him. No, I can't control it anymore. His voice is changing. It's getting raspy and deep. Suddenly, he violently shoves me away. His strength is absolutely terrifying. Get away from me. That's not his voice anymore. His eyes have gone completely dead and pale. The transformation has begun. Hurry. Zhang's friend rushes over, and together we pin him down. Zhou is thrashing around like a maniac, getting stronger by the second. Open the door, throw him out of here. Li screams at the top of his lungs. No way. I roar back at him. It's crawling with the infected out there. Then what do we do? He's turning. He's right. Zhou's skin is completely ash gray now, and his nails are turning into long, black claws. He's not Zhou anymore. The cargo hold. Zhao yells out, lock him in the cargo hold. That's it. We drag him toward the hold with everything we've got. He's snapping and biting like a wild animal, and Cheng's arm gets scratched. Damn it, we finally shove him into the cargo hold. The second the door slams shut, we hear him violently smashing against it from the inside. Cheng, your arm, it's just a scratch. He checks the wound. The skin isn't broken, but nobody is willing to bet their life on it. Will a scratch turn him too? Nobody knows for sure. Quarantine him. Li is the first one to yell. What? He might be infected. It was just a scratch. Who knows what that thing does? Li glares at the rest of the group. Are you guys really willing to risk it? The crowd starts to panic. Everybody calm down. I try to take control of the chaos. Calm down? A middle-aged woman screams hysterically. We're all going to die. You liar. You said you were going to protect us. And look what happened. Zhang is dead. Zhou turned into a monster. Who's next? More and more people start pointing fingers. This is all your fault. Why did we even go to the control tower? Why didn't we just leave right from the start? It's total chaos now. People are crying, others are screaming curses. Some just collapse to the floor in pure despair. That's enough. It was Xu Chang. He stood right in the middle of the crowd, ripping open his shirt to reveal the scratch marks. 3 bloody scratches. Not deep, but terrifying to look at. You guys are right, I might be infected, he said calmly. So, I'm volunteering to isolate myself. Just give me a corner. No, I told him, you don't need to do this. I have to, he cut me off, for everyone's safety. He walked over to the furthest corner of the front cabin and sat down. 2 hours, he said. If I'm still fine after 2 hours, it means the scratches aren't contagious. But if something goes wrong, he looked right at me. Just put me out of my misery. That same phrase again. I've heard it way too many times today. The fuel gauge read, 3.1 tons. Just a little bit more to go. The banging from the cargo hold was getting louder and louder. Xiao Zhou. No, whatever used to be Xiao Zhou, was violently tearing the place apart. Will the door hold? Someone asked in a panic. The cargo door is reinforced, Engineer Zhao said, though he didn't sound entirely convinced himself. 3.2 tons. Bang. A massive crash. A noticeable dent had just bulged out from the cargo door. Everyone gasped in horror. How the hell is it that strong? Hurry up, someone screamed out, but the refueling speed was fixed. 3.3 tons. Bang. The dent in the door grew even deeper. It's going to break through. The panic had reached its absolute peak. People started fighting over life jackets, even though they were completely useless on land. Others were desperately scrambling for weapons. Cutlery, fire extinguishers, literally anything they could use. Some even dropped to their knees in prayer. Li Dai and his crew huddled together, whispering as if they were plotting something. 3.4 tons. Engineer Zhao shouted, is that enough? Barely. We'll just have to conserve our fuel. Prepare for takeoff. I sprinted toward the cockpit. But then reality hit. With Xiao Zhou gone, who was going to be the co-pilot? I'll do it. Engineer Zhao followed me inside. You know how to fly a plane? I know all the theory. I guess I'll learn the practical stuff in the air. We had absolutely no choice. Starting the engines. Wait, Li Dai barged in. What about Xu Chang? I glanced back. Xu Chang was still sitting quietly in the corner. It had only been 20 minutes since he isolated himself. We're taking him with us, I said firmly. Are you out of your mind? Li Dai's eyes widened in disbelief. He might be infected. He might be, but that doesn't mean he is for sure. You're risking everyone's lives here. Then what exactly do you want me to do? Just leave him behind to die? Why the hell not? I stood up and glared right at him. Because we're still human beings. He let out a cold laugh. You're still clinging to humanity at a time like this? This is exactly the time when it matters the most. You're so damn naive, then why don't you get off and join him? You either shut your mouth right now, or you get off this plane. Take your pick. His face turned entirely purple with rage, but eventually, he backed out of the cockpit. Starting the engines. I repeat, Zhao got to work. The left engine fired up. That familiar roar. But the banging in the cargo hold was getting even crazier. Everyone take your seats, fasten your seatbelts. Nobody needed to be told twice. We taxied to the runway. Pushed the throttle forward. The plane started moving. Outside, the infected were drawn by the engine noise, chasing us like maniacs. They won't catch us, Zhao said. He was right, we were picking up speed. Look out ahead, the runway was absolutely packed with them. Double what we saw this morning. Ram right through them. I yelled. What? We had no choice. We kept accelerating. 20 knots. 30 knots. We hit the first one. The whole plane shuddered. 40 knots. 50 knots. Just continuous, sickening thuds against the hull. It was an absolute bloodbath. Don't look, I told Zhao. He was pale as a ghost, but kept a firm grip on the controls. 60 knots. 70 knots. The cargo door is giving way. Someone screamed from the back. It was true, the door was buckling bad. It could rip open at any second. 80 knots. Pull up? Zhao asked. Not yet, not enough speed. 90 knots. 100 knots. The front wheel rolled over something hard. The tire. The warning light flashed red. Nose gear tire pressure abnormal, but we couldn't stop now. 110 knots. Zhao and I pulled back on the yoke together. The nose struggled to lift. The exact second we left the ground, the cargo door completely blew off. That thing that used to be Joe fell right out, dropping from 50 meters up. The landing gear, it won't retract. Zhao checked the board. The hydraulic system was shot. Warning lights were going off everywhere. Low hydraulic pressure. Fuel leak. Left engine temperature critical. This plane was absolutely battered. But she was still flying, carrying us the hell out of there. Altitude 500 feet, 1,000 feet, the entire city lay below us, and it was burning everywhere. Thick black smoke filled the sky. The streets were crawling with tiny black dots, all infected. The whole city had fallen. Where is Qingyu Island? Zhao checked the nav. Bearing 120, distance 115 nautical miles. Do we have enough fuel? He did the math. Barely, but we had 0 in reserve. Meaning, no second chances. We had to get this right the first time. How is Xu Chang doing? I asked Chen. She ran back to check, and returned with a grim look on her face. But what? He asked me to tell you, thank you. I'm just glad he's okay. Captain, she lowered her voice. What are Li Dai and his guys whispering about? Something doesn't look right. I frowned. At a time like this, what else could he be plotting? Keep an eye on them. Understood. Altitude at 3,000 feet. It's relatively steady now, but the warning lights are still flashing. Hydraulic pressure keeps dropping. Can we make it to Qingyu Island? Theoretically, yes. Engineer Zhao sounded unsure. Suddenly, the plane shook violently. What's happening? The left engine, it just died. Damn it, must be damage from the impact. Shut down the left engine. Adjust the trim, we're flying on one engine. Speed is dropping, fuel consumption is going up. Recalculate. Engineer Zhao turned pale. We don't have enough fuel. How short are we? 10 nautical miles. Out on the ocean, 10 nautical miles is the difference between life and death. We need to drop some weight. I made the split-second call. How do we do that? Throw out everything we don't absolutely need. I rushed out of the cockpit. Listen up, everyone. Throw all the luggage out. What? To drop weight. Otherwise, we are not going to make it to Qingyu Island. After hesitating for a few seconds, everyone sprang into action. Luggage, backpacks, even extra clothes. We're all thrown out through the hole in the rear cargo hold. It's still not enough. Engineer Zhao ran the numbers. The seats, rip out the seats. A few of the guys started tearing out the back row seats. Seat after seat was tossed out. Still a bit short. Throw out the food carts, too. The food carts were really heavy. After they were tossed out, Engineer Zhao finally nodded. That's enough. It's just barely enough. Qingyu Island was getting closer and closer. A tiny little island. It looked so peaceful floating on the blue ocean. But is it really safe there? Someone asked, but no one answered. Because nobody knew. It could be another trap, but at least it was hope. We're losing altitude way too fast. Engineer Zhao's voice was trembling. One engine can't maintain our altitude. We're in a slow, but steady descent. How much further? 60 nautical miles. At this descent rate, we're gonna crash into the sea 20 nautical miles short of the island. We have to restart the left engine. But it's completely busted. Try the restart sequence anyway. Start. The engine turned over. It sputtered a few times, and then went dead again. Try it again. Still nothing. Let me take a look. It was Xu Chang's voice. You're okay? He was standing in the cockpit doorway. His face was totally pale, but his eyes were sharp and clear. I'm alright for now. He glanced down at his arm. The scratch had already scabbed over. 2 hours had passed. I'm still me, thank God. The engine issue. It might be the fuel line. Chief Engineer Zhao says the impact caused it. Can we fix it mid-air? Impossible. Altitude is at 2,000 feet, and we're still dropping. Wait, Xu Chang suddenly spoke up. What if it's not the line? What if it's the fuel quality? What do you mean? The fuel we just pumped in might be contaminated. That makes sense. The airport has been dead for days. There's no way to guarantee the fuel quality in that tanker. Let's try switching to the backup tank. The 747 has multiple fuel tanks. Switching to tank number 2. Restarting. The engine coughed and sputtered. Ignition. The left engine is back online. Even though it doesn't sound quite right. But it's working. Thank God. Altitude is holding steady at 1,800 feet. We've got another problem. Chief Engineer Zhao pointed at the dashboard. The landing gear won't deploy. The hydraulic system is completely dead. Drop it manually. Where's the hand pump? We found the emergency hand pump. Xu Chang volunteered. I'll do it. It takes 700 pumps to drop the gear. This was going to take some serious muscle. He started pumping. I see the island, someone shouted. Through the windshield, Qingyu Island appeared on the horizon. It was just a tiny green dot. Contact the tower. I grabbed the radio. Qingyu Tower. This is HC 327. Requesting clearance to land. Silence. Qingyu Tower, do you copy? Please respond. Still nothing but silence. Has this place fallen too? HC 327. This is Qingyu Tower. A voice. The voice of a living person. The entire cabin erupted into cheers. We've got your signal. The runway is clear. Wind is at 090, speed 5 knots. Copy that. Preparing for approach. HC 327 is flying on a single engine. Hydraulics are dead, and we've got landing gear failure. Please prep the emergency crews. Understood. Fire trucks are already in position. They had fire trucks. They were organized and ready. This really is a safe haven. 400 pumps. Our altitude is way too high. Chief Engineer Zhao said, and he was right. Our glide slope is all wrong. We need to circle around. But that would burn more fuel, and the gauge was already hitting empty. We had no choice. Banking left. The plane was shuddering violently. The damaged fuselage groaned in protest. 500 pumps. Then, the low fuel warning went off. The red light flashed frantically. How much is left? Less than 100 kilos. Just enough for 1 minute. 600 pumps. We finished the turn and lined up with the runway. 700 pumps. Click. The landing gear finally dropped. But we only got 2 green lights. The right main gear didn't lock. Damn it, we're out of time. We're taking her down. Prepare for a single gear landing. No altitude selected. 200 feet, 100 feet, 50 feet. Brace for impact, everyone. 30 feet, 20 feet, 10 feet. Left main gear touchdown. The fuselage tilts violently, and the right wing scrapes the runway. Sparks are flying everywhere. Hit the brakes. Deploy thrust reversers. But only the right engine has reverse thrust. The plane is spinning like a top. Everyone is screaming in terror. The deafening sound of tires blowing out and metal screeching against the ground. Finally, we come to a dead stop. Silence. Then, the cheering, the crying, the prayers. We actually made it out alive. Everyone is evacuating in an orderly fashion. The emergency slides are deployed. People slide down one by one. Down on the ground, crews in hazmat suits are catching us. Welcome to Qingyu Island, a muffled voice calls out from inside a hazmat suit. You are all safe now. Safe? Are we really safe? I'm the last one to leave the plane. I look back at this completely battered 747. The impact dents and bloodstains all over the fuselage. The torn up cargo door. The scraped up wings. The blown out tires. She flew us right out of hell. Thank you, I whisper softly. We are taken to a makeshift quarantine zone. Standard protocol. The staff explains the rules. A 24-hour observation period. Just to confirm no one is infected. The tents have cots in them. There is water and food. It's bare bones, but to us, it feels like heaven. How many survivors are here? I ask. 3,000 island locals, plus over 2,000 evacuees. The person in charge is a middle-aged woman. Her last name is Lin. And the rest of the world? She goes silent for a moment. It doesn't look good. We have lost contact with most of the major cities. I expected as much, but my heart still sinks. How did you guys manage to hold the line? Pure luck, she says. The island is totally remote. The infected couldn't reach us. We locked down all points of entry the second this started. What about supplies? We have enough to last us 3 months. Let's hope that by then. She doesn't finish her sentence. Hoping by then a rescue team shows up. Or hoping that by then, all the infected will be dead. Later that night, Li Dai comes looking for me. Captain, what's on your mind? I want to apologize. I was way too impulsive back there on the plane. He hangs his head in shame. I almost got everyone killed. It's in the past. He reaches out his hand. Thank you for getting us out alive. I shake his hand. Maybe a disaster really can change a person. The next day, the observation period ends. We are moved to the island's temporary living quarters. It's an abandoned resort that's now been turned into a refugee camp. The conditions are rough, but hey, it's a roof over our heads. We have beds, which is a hell of a lot better than sleeping on the plane. While they're handing out room assignments, Shu Chang pulls me aside. Captain, I need to talk to you about something. Go ahead, I want to join the island's defense squad. Is your injury already healed up? He rolls up his sleeve. There is nothing left but a faint scar, proving that the scratches aren't contagious. Then go for it. He hesitates for a second. Xiao Chen wants to join too. Xiao Chen, she said, she didn't want to hide behind others anymore. I completely understand. After going through all of this, everyone is changing. Just let her go. Life on the island is pretty routine. We wake up at 6 a.m. and assign the daily tasks. Those who farm, farm. Those who fish, fish. And those who fix things, fix things. Everyone has a job to do. We trade our labor for food, it's fair. Zhao became the backbone of the tech crew. The island's generators and water purifiers all need maintenance. Li Dai has changed a lot, too. He organized the supply distribution team. And he's surprisingly fair. He even gives up his own rations for the elderly and the kids. This disaster really showed me what matters most. 1 week later, Lin came to find me. Captain Chen, there's something I need your help with. What is it? We intercepted an SOS signal. She turned on the radio. Through the heavy static, a voice broke through. This is Yunshuan. Survivors requesting backup. Yunshuan, that's my hometown. Where exactly? The downtown broadcast tower. There are at least 200 people. 200 people? But her face was dead serious. The situation in Yunshuan is completely out of control. The entire city district is crawling with the infected. How bad is it? Conservative estimate. Over 100,000. 100,000 infected. We don't have the manpower for a rescue. I pressed her. Then why are you even telling me this? Because, she hesitated. They mentioned your name in the signal. What? She played the recording. Captain Chen Yuanshan. If you copy this, your family, my wife and daughter, they're still alive. I have to go. Absolutely not. Lin flatly refused. It's way too dangerous. Those are my family members. I get that, but there are no buts. Going out there alone is just a suicide mission. I don't care, I'm still going. We were deadlocked. I'll go with you. It was Shu Chang. Count me in, too. Xiao Chen stepped up. Count me in. Then Zhao. One by one, more and more people stepped forward. Even Li Dai. Are you guys insane? Lin couldn't believe her eyes. We're not crazy, Li Dai said. We're paying back a debt. The captain saved our lives. Now, it's our turn. I looked around at all of them. These people. Just days ago, they were at each other's throats. Now, they were willing to risk it all for me. Thank you, but I can't let you. Cut the crap. Shu Chang cut me off. When do we move out? Lin looked at all of us, and let out a heavy sigh. I'll give you a chopper. Just one. It's the only helicopter left on the island. An M171. It seats 20 people. The fuel is only enough for one single round trip. One shot. When do we do this? Tomorrow morning. We'll strike when the infected are least active. That night, I pored over the maps. The broadcast tower is dead in the center of the city, surrounded by skyscrapers. We can land the chopper right on the roof. How many infected were out there? I had no idea. Here's the plan, I told the volunteers. In the end, 15 people stepped up. The helicopter hovered over the roof. We would send the scout team down first, and only bring people up once it was safe. If it wasn't safe, we were to evacuate immediately. No one argued, we all knew the risks. We took off at 4 in the morning. It was still pitch black outside. The roar of the helicopter was deafening over the dead silent sea. Flight time was 45 minutes. As we closed in on the mainland, the view below grew more terrifying. The city was burning. Flames were everywhere. What the hell is that? Someone pointed down. A massive, pitch-black shadow. It was slowly shifting. A massive horde of the infected. Tens of thousands of them, swarming like ants. Don't look, I warned them. But nobody could tear their eyes away. This was what the end of the world looked like. Yunchuan City came into view. The once bustling metropolis was now just ruins. But the radio tower was still standing. The signal light on top of the 30-story building was still blinking. People were alive down there. Prepare to land. The roof was completely empty. It went too smoothly, which only made me anxious. The scout team moved in, led by Shu Chang. The three of them vanished into the stairwell. We waited for 5 minutes. 10 minutes later, the radio crackled. We're safe. The survivors are on the 25th floor. How many are there? 237. Way more than we expected. Can they make it up here? The stairwell is blocked. How long to clear it? 20 minutes. The helicopter just hovered in the air. We were burning fuel. 15 minutes later, the first group of survivors emerged. Old people, kids, women, and then, I saw her, my wife, and my little girl. They were so thin, so exhausted, but they were alive. Daddy, my daughter threw herself into my arms. My wife was sobbing. I was crying too. Hurry, get on the chopper. Groups of people scrambled aboard. 50 people, 100, 150. We're way overweight. The pilot yelled, just wait a little longer. 200 people. We can't take any more. We are literally going to crash. But there were still over 30 people left behind. You guys go first. Shu Chang shouted. We'll stay behind. No, but there was no choice. He shoved me into the chopper. Come back and get us next time. Now get out of here. The infected were rushing up. Horrifying screeches echoed from the stairwell. They found us. Take off. Now. The helicopter started to lift off. I stared down at the roof. Shu Chang and his team were setting up a defense, using doors, tables, chairs. Anything they could find to block the stairwell. But the infected burst through. Shu Chang grabbed an iron pipe. Xiao Chen stood right by his side. And the others, they were fighting for their lives. To buy us time, the helicopter flew higher and higher. The figures on the roof grew smaller and smaller. With one last look, Shu Chang was still standing tall. On the way back to Qingyu Island, the cabin was completely packed. 237 survivors, squeezed into a space meant for 20. Some were standing, while others sat on the floor. Kids were sitting on adults' laps. The air was dangerously thin. Someone started throwing up. How much longer? The co-pilot was sweating heavily. 20 minutes. The engine was whining in protest. We were severely overloaded, and the temperature just kept rising. Hold together, I whispered to the chopper, like I was talking to an old friend. My wife leaned against my shoulder, and my daughter hugged my waist. They were so terribly thin. How did you guys survive these past few days? There were supplies in the radio station's basement. My wife's voice was incredibly weak. But they were running out. If you guys hadn't come. She didn't finish her sentence. Shu Chang and the others will be okay, right? My daughter asked suddenly. I gently patted her head. They will, but we all knew the truth. Over 30 of the infected had rushed the roof. 6 guys defending it. There would be no miracles. Warning, the co-pilot's voice suddenly pitched up. The right engine is smoking. Shut it down. We were flying on a single engine, and our altitude was dropping fast. Drop the dead weight, but there really wasn't much left to toss out. Nobody move, keep the balance. If the center of gravity shifted, the chopper would spin out of control. 10 minutes, the longest 10 minutes in history. Finally, we saw the island. Prepare for an emergency landing. No time for a proper approach. We dove straight for the runway. Everyone, brace yourselves. We hit the ground hard. The landing gear just couldn't take it. It snapped right off, and the belly of the chopper scraped the tarmac. Sparks, smoke, and the deafening screech of grinding metal. We slid for 200 meters before finally coming to a stop. But we survived. Every single one of us lived. The cabin doors flew open, and people scrambled out, tumbling over each other. Medics rushed over with stretchers, oxygen tanks, and first aid kits. I was the very last one out. My legs were so weak I couldn't even stand. She held me up. You did it, but Shu Chang and the boys. I could see the tears welling up in her eyes. They're heroes, but that word, it just carries too much weight. We had a bonfire that night, but it wasn't a celebration. It was a memorial for those who couldn't make it here with us. Old Zhang, Little Joe, Shu Chang, Little Chen, and countless others whose names we didn't even know. Li Pen walked up to me, holding a glass. To them, we clinked our glasses. The liquor was strong, burning all the way down. Captain, do you think all this will ever end? I looked up at the sky full of stars. Without any light pollution, the Milky Way was so clearly visible in the night sky. Will it happen? When? I don't know. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe next year. Or maybe forever. Never? He didn't answer. But honestly, it doesn't matter. He suddenly spoke up. What really matters is that we're still alive. He's right. Just staying alive is a victory in itself. My daughter ran over to us. Daddy, tell us the airplane story again. A whole group of kids gathered around. Their eyes sparkled in the firelight, so full of curiosity. There was absolutely no fear in them. Maybe this right here is our hope. The next generation. The kids growing up in the ruins of the old world. Once upon a time, there was an airplane. 3 months later, life on Qingyu Island had finally settled into a rhythm. I became the island's one and only pilot. Well, if you could even call me that anymore. That helicopter was completely totaled. We had 0 spare parts to fix it. And that 747 on the island was just a giant pile of scrap metal. But we kept on building. We salvaged parts from the planes. We took the cabin seats and turned them into support frames for a greenhouse. Everything found a brand new purpose. We didn't have many doctors on the island. My daughter started going to a makeshift school. Yeah, we actually built a school. We couldn't just let the kids go without an education. The history classes were pretty interesting. My daughter told me her teacher talked about the world before the outbreak. Before the outbreak, that phrase had become a whole new marker of time. Just like BC and AD. Li Dai is now on the steering committee. He's in charge of rationing supplies and external comms. He's really changed, or maybe, the end of the world just stripped away his disguise. And showed who he truly was on the inside. We picked up a new signal. He came looking for me. The radio crackled with a broken voice. Survivors everywhere were desperately searching for each other. Yesterday, we managed to contact a base over in Haizhou. He said they had over 2,000 people there. How are things holding up? About the same as us. Just trying to be self-sufficient. Biding our time. Biding your time for what? No one could really say for sure. Maybe waiting for the infected to just die off. Maybe waiting for a cure. Or maybe, just waiting. We have a huge problem, Lin announced at the meeting. We've got over 5,000 people on this island now. We're burning through our supplies way too fast. At this rate, we're only going to last until winter. We have to find new resources and cut back on rations. There's plenty of fish out in the ocean. Someone suggested, yeah, but fishing boats run on fuel. Then let's build sailboats. Who here even knows how to build a boat? Discussions turned into arguments, but finally, we all agreed. We were going to build boats. Build them with what? The aluminum skin straight off the airplanes. Is that even going to float? Someone questioned. We won't know until we try. Chief Engineer Zhao took the lead on the design. A month later, the very first airplane boat hit the water. It was incredibly ugly, but it floated. And floating was all that mattered. Little by little, we built up a small fleet. Some for fishing, some for transport, and some for patrol. Qingyu Island slowly turned into a true fortress on the sea. Until one morning, the lookout reported a boat approaching. Everyone tensed up. Are they survivors, or just a battered old fishing boat? Someone on board is waving a white flag. We are survivors, requesting shelter. There are over 20 people on board. They were emaciated and dressed in rags. Where did you come from? Fuzhou. We headed straight north. We've been searching for 2 months. From Fuzhou to here by sea is a straight line distance of 500 kilometers. I can't believe they survived 2 months on a broken fishing boat. Were there other survivors on the way? Yes, there are people on many of the coastal islands. Everyone is holding on. The good news is, humanity hasn't gone extinct. The spark of civilization is still alive. We took them in. Every single survivor is precious. In autumn, even bigger news arrived. The capital is still standing. A clear voice came through the radio. The capital is still functioning. Even though the safe zone has shrunk to within the 5th Ring Road, order has been maintained. They're working on a vaccine. How long will it take? I don't know. Maybe a year, maybe longer. But this is hope. Real hope. Winter came. The sea began to freeze over. Our first apocalyptic winter on the island. Supplies were getting really tight. Daily rations were cut to the bare minimum, but nobody complained. We were all pulling through together. Old Lee even gave away his entire ration. I'm fat, I can take it, he said with a laugh. He really had lost a lot of weight. His once big, round belly was now lean and fit. Daddy, I'm hungry. My daughter never complained. This was the first time. I gave her my dinner. Aren't you going to eat? Daddy's not hungry. She looked at me, then suddenly pushed the food back. Let's share. An 8-year-old child had already learned how to share. The disaster forced kids to grow up too fast. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. At its coldest, it was minus 20 degrees. We didn't have enough fuel. Everyone huddled together for warmth. People who were once strangers were now depending on each other to survive. People got sick. With the medicine shortage, we could only rely on our own immune systems. Some of the elderly didn't make it. We held simple funerals. There were no coffins, so we used cargo pallets from the plane instead. A burial at sea, letting the ocean take them away. Next year will be better, Lin said at the funeral. Will it? Nobody knows. But we have to believe it. Otherwise, how do we keep living? Spring finally arrived. The ice and snow melted. The first batch of vegetables sprouted in the greenhouse. Those tender green shoots. Life is so incredibly resilient. Daddy, look. My daughter pulled my hand. The tomatoes she planted in the pot had bloomed. A tiny, yellow flower. Still blooming right here in the ruins of the apocalypse. Will it bear fruit? Yes, it will. I patted his head. 004.92. New messages keep pouring in. Survivor bases are expanding everywhere. Some places have even started clearing out the cities. The number of infected is dropping. 280. 70. They are going to starve to death too. Without any food, they won't last much longer. Maybe in just another year, we'll actually be able to go back. Some people dream of going back to the home we once knew. But, is it even still a home? We received an emergency signal. The radio operator burst into the room. There are survivors out towards Yunchuan. Yunchuan? Yunchuan again. Where? Over in the industrial zone on the outskirts of the city. They said they're trapped inside a factory. There are over 50 people. How on earth did they survive this long? The factory had a food reserve, but it's almost completely wiped out. We have to save them, but how? We don't have any planes left. Let's build a raft, somebody suggested. That is way too slow. By the time we get there, they'll have already gone under. I have an idea. Chief Engineer Zhao spoke up suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. A hot air balloon. What? We can use parachute material to make the envelope, and use an airplane's burner. It works in theory. What a completely crazy idea. But we just don't have any better options. 3 days and 3 nights. Working without any sleep or rest. The hot air balloon was finally finished. It is really scrappy, but it can fly. My wife grabbed my arm. Someone has to go. No, you need to stay and take care of our daughter. Two hours later, we finally spotted land, the ruins of the city. Looking down from high up above, it is even more shocking. Now, there is nothing but rubble left. The industrial zone is in the west side of the city. We found that factory. There are people on the roof waving flags. They are alive. They are still alive. but landing is going to be really tough. A hot air balloon is not like a helicopter. We finally touched down in the empty dirt lot right next to the factory building. The infected immediately swarmed us. Hurry! The survivors rushed toward the hot air balloon. Old people, kids, women, and there were even a few familiar faces. It's Shu Chang. You are still alive. How did you? It is a very long story. That day, we hid away in the elevator shaft. And then we just kept running all the way here. Little Chen is here too. His face is completely exhausted, but his eyes are still just as determined. Quick, get in. One by one, they scrambled up into the basket. We are overweight. Way too overweight. It won't lift off. Someone has to stay behind. I'll stay. Shu Chang yelled without a single moment of hesitation. No, I will stay. I am staying. You guys go on ahead. Captain, that is an order. I jumped straight out of the basket. Immediately, the hot air balloon started to rise. We will come back for you. Shu Chang screamed out. I waved my hand, watching the hot air balloon fly higher and higher. Flying farther and farther away. 7 of the infected closed in on me. I gripped my iron crowbar. If this is the end, if I'm going down standing. The first infected lunged at me. I dodged and smashed him over the head with my club. Then came the second, the third. There were too many. The circle was closing in. But right at that moment, gunshots, a burst of rapid fire. The infected dropped one by one. A squad in camo gear charged in. The military, it was the military. Are you hurt? The commanding officer asked. Who are you guys? East China Military District Search and Rescue Team. We're clearing out this sector. The army was still around. The country hadn't fallen. How are things everywhere else? Slowly recovering. The infected population has dropped massively. We expect to have the major cities cleared by the end of the year. The end of the year? That was 6 months away. What's the situation on Qingyu Island? I gave him a full breakdown. You've done well, the officer said. Keep your comms open. We'll drop off supplies regularly. Was this nightmare really ending? He looked out at the city as the smoke cleared, revealing its shattered skyline. Ending? No. This is just the beginning. Rebuilding will take generations. But then he turned to face me. The hardest part is finally over. I was taken back to Qingyu Island on a military transport. Along the way, I saw so many signs of hope. Cleared out harbors, docks being put back into use. Some places were even fixing up the power grid. Civilization was rising from the ashes. When I got back to the island, my daughter threw herself into my arms. Daddy, you came back. I'm back. My wife was crying. Tears of pure joy. That night, we threw a massive bonfire party on the island. This was a real celebration. Shu Chang and Xiao Chen were surrounded by everyone, sharing the crazy story of how they escaped. Li Dai got completely wasted. He grabbed everyone he saw, shouting, "We lived. We actually freaking lived." Lin announced something huge. Starting tomorrow, we are making preparations to return to the mainland. Not everyone, just volunteers, to go back and help rebuild. I'm in. Shu Chang was the first to step up. Me too, said Xiao Chen. Count me in, said Mr. Zhao. Slowly but surely, half the camp had signed up, including me. Are you really going? My wife asked. I'm a pilot. If they're rebuilding the airports, they're going to need me. She totally understood. Then we're coming with you. It's too dangerous. Our family stays together. My daughter hugged my leg. Wherever daddy goes, I'll go too. The very next day, the first ship heading back to the mainland set sail. 100 people, packed with tools, seeds, and so much hope, stood at the bow. We watched Qingyu Island fade into the distance, the sanctuary that had kept us safe. Will we ever come back? Someone asked. Yeah, I replied. This place will always be our second home. The ship sailed on toward the mainland. The morning sun rose, painting the ocean a brilliant gold. A brand new day, a fresh start. I thought back to the very first time I flew a plane, and what my instructor told me. A pilot's true duty is to get their passengers safely to their destination. I did it. I didn't send them to Haman, but into tomorrow, a tomorrow filled with hope. My daughter held my hand. Daddy, will there still be airplanes? Yes, there will. And will you still fly them? Yes. Take me flying with you, okay? Okay, someday, we will fly again. Flying freely in a sky without any dark clouds.